Hey dudes, Khraze here, welcome back to Marvel's Avengers, and today let's take a look at some really awesome farming methods that you should definitely go ahead and use right away, especially since this game absolutely showers you in legendary loot, but only assuming you know where to look at, which is why I also made this video, to share all of these biggest gear up tips and tricks with you guys, so that you can reach that max rank and max power level sooner rather than later. So if you enjoyed this video at any point, it would be super awesome if you left a like on it, maybe even consider subscribing, as that would be really helpful, and let's jump right into it. But I also want to give a huge shout out to Epic Games for sponsoring this video. If you didn't hear about this, which is probably nobody at this point, they are doing this really cool crossover between the Marvel Universe and Fortnite for their Season 4 release called Nexus War. And it's really awesome. They give you access to some of the most iconic Marvel heroes like Thor, Iron Man, Storm, and by far my favorite, of course, being Wolverine. They even have their own unlockable outfits, and there's these brand new locations that you can find on the map, so this is probably going to be the perfect time to jump in, have some fun with the brand new content, and maybe even unlock that battle pass over there with all of those rewards. If you haven't already, definitely go ahead and download Fortnite using my links down below, as that would also help the channel out. And again, a big shout out to Epic Games for sponsoring this video once more. Now, with that out of the way, here are a few things that you should know about gearing up and leveling up in Marvel's Avengers. So both loot as well as XP can be gained from literally anywhere. This includes defeating enemies, opening up chests, taking down bosses, completing side objectives, and even completing missions. The only difference between these two is how difficulty affects them, because increasing that challenge level only influences the type of loot that you're getting, but not the actual XP rate. So if you want to rank up really fast to 50, then the fastest way is to do missions on easy or challenge 1 and choose the easiest difficulty, since that not only it doesn't affect your XP rates, but enemies are much easier to take down, which means you're going to be able to complete those missions way faster. Meanwhile, if you want legendary loot, and even more so to increase that power level as fast as possible to 150, then you're going to want to play on the highest difficulty. This is going to affect both the drops from the enemies as well as the ones from the chests, and I will show you a really cool method in just a little bit to kind of influence this and get that max power level cap really fast. On top of these, there's also quests in the game that will provide guaranteed item drops, like for example rare or epics, but once you advance in the game, you can also unlock these types of quests that will also list guaranteed legendary drops. So you will have to basically finish the main reassembled campaign, and once you're done with that, look onto your objectives tab, and especially so add all of those quest chains over there. You will want to complete all of these quest chains, as there are several of them that will provide a ton of cool stuff. These include quest chains for the factions, for the hero iconic missions, for the vaults, and even more so for the hives, which are kind of like these dungeons that are really difficult but also very rewarding. As you complete quests in these chains, additional ones will open up later on, and you will even have them available indefinitely, so you can go in, repeat them, and get their guaranteed rewards. But now that you know the basics about gearing up, let's go over some of these methods, starting with the first one that you should do on a daily basis, and these are the daily villain sectors. They are missions that you take once per day from each of the factions that culminate with a really cool boss fight, and it's usually some of those bosses that you also encountered in the main campaign. Depending on the difficulty and your party, it takes roughly 10 or so minutes to complete, but you also get that mission reward at the end, as well as the boss drop, which usually means 2 additional chances at getting legendaries. This brings us to the next point. If you finish those villain sectors, it's very likely that you got a ton of faction XP, which is also going to increase and give you better rewards from those NPC vendors. So once you get high enough ranks, you're going to see that all of the slots over there are revealed, which means you're going to have much more access to a lot more gear, and especially so legendary loot, since it seems that there's quite an abundance of it. It seems to be quite inexpensive. Once you get a few of these crafting mats, you can go in in and purchase this, and especially so look for these high power level legendaries or even epics that might spawn every hour or so, because that's going to give you a really nice boost that sometimes might get you very close to that 150 power level cap. They also reset on an hourly basis, so if you want to see how long the reset is, go into your objectives menu and you're going to see that there's a white circle surrounding the faction icon, and that's going to indicate you how close you are to that reset. But this brings us to the next point, and a truly magnificent one that you should attempt as soon as you finish the main story campaign, and these are the iconic missions. There's going to be 6 iconic mission chains for each of the 6 characters in the game, and not only do these provide more story context, they're pretty awesome, but they also provide some of the best guaranteed rewards in the game. So some of these might only list a rare and an epic as a guaranteed reward, but look for the last ones in the chains as they provide a guaranteed epic and a guaranteed legendary, which is going to be the best possible one to complete. And the coolest part about this is that once you have unlocked these, they forever stay unlocked, so you can basically repeat them as many times as you want without fearing that you might lose them. They can also be played on the easiest difficulty without affecting the end rewards, and it doesn't take more than 10 or even 15 minutes to actually reach them, and that's with a bad build. If you get a good build and if you progress more in the game, it's going to be much faster than that. Once you are done with that, then this is the time to go in and move on to the next section, and this brings us back to the vaults that we've talked about in the beta. So these are some of the best sources of loot in the game, even in the full game, not because of their objectives and whatnot, but because they include vast areas with a ton of objectives which all provide fast access to higher tier and higher quality loot, especially again if you play on the maximum difficulty. So there are going to be several vaults in the game eventually as you unlock that quest chain for the vaults themselves. I'm gonna start things off with the first one, which is of course none other than the Snowy Tundra vault that we also had in the beta. So you can unlock this by going in the mission called Stark Realities. You should find it on this side of the map. Usually there's also a lower level one, so you can go in and do both of these, but ignore the main objectives and simply head over past it into the woods. You're going to see that a scanner appears in the corner of your screen, so go ahead, use that to find the secret entrance to this underground bunker right here. Once you go in it, go ahead and follow the objective that brings you to this chest right here, and if you open it up for the very first time, you will see that it unlocked a vault over there. This is none other than the Snowy Tundra vault, but if you already completed the quest chain, it has a chance to unlock a different kind of vault, so it's all random, and I'm gonna talk about that in just a little bit. But if this is the first time, it's also going to give you access to that quest chain as I was talking about, that also starts with the Snowy Tundra. So what you will want to do here is the following. You can go in and definitely complete the entire quest chain. In fact, I recommend going in and doing these missions so that you can later get access to the other vaults in there too, because you can basically come back here anytime you want to and unlock any of the vaults, and this gives you access to those areas too on the map. But no matter which one of these you get to unlock, the trick is always going to be the same, and that is completely ignore the main objective and only stick to the side objectives, especially so those big facilities with the door puzzles. Go in, ignore the enemies, and instead focus on opening them up. Once you do that, you can head over inside. Here is where you will find these silver chests that have a really good chance at also providing legendaries, assuming, as I've said in the beginning of the video, that you are playing on the highest possible difficulty. So make sure that you are on challenge 4 for that. Also pay attention to these smaller copper chests that you might find on your way towards these objectives, because even though they have a much lower chance for that, they can still drop some legendaries, and they have done for me so many times, on top of the fact that it also provides all of those crafting mats that you will need. Once you're done with all of this, all you can do is go ahead and get back to your Quinjet and restart the same mission if you haven't already completed the main objective, as that's going to let you do it indefinitely for as long as you don't complete that main objective. But this brings us to the last one, which is also likely the best in the end game, and these are the hives, and especially so those elite hives. For me, these unlocked at around power level 80, and and rank 30 for my character, so they should also unlock for you at about that stage. But they're kind of like these dungeons, they're kind of long, but they also provide some really awesome rewards, both from the fact that you are going to encounter some of the toughest enemies in the game, like bosses and adaptoids, and these have higher chances to drop them, but also because they provide these guaranteed loot drops at the end of them, especially those elite hives that list legendaries for them. And yeah, you are going to want to do these, but again, I recommend this on the highest difficulty. If you have a party going on, it's going to be super worth it for that. If not, maybe stick with something else that I've already covered and just focus on these once you reach to that level, and maybe make some friends for that. But you will basically go into these several floors, like 5 of them in total. You will go in and fight very tough enemies and also complete these side objectives on the way that are increasingly tougher and tougher. Eventually you will reach the end of it, defeat a boss and like the enemies around it, and this is going to put an end to the hive for you. It's not that distinct from everything else that you're already doing, but it's a nice thing to go in and kind of bring that challenge up to see how well your character fares. But as I've said, there's many other ways in the game to get loot. These were the ones that are the most preferred for me, but you can also go in and do other kind of stuff. Like there's also the faction mission chains that you should also focus on, since these are also very important. They also provide some really nice guaranteed rewards, and as I've said, once unlocked, they stay unlocked. The only exception to that rule are those vaults that get reset once you complete them again. But yeah, this is it for now. Now let me know down below what is the best character that you have right now. Like what's the highest power level and rank for your best character, as I would really love to know that. In the meantime, if you enjoyed this video, then also don't forget to leave a like on it, also subscribe and activate that notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.